I'm going to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, November 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. We're going to start the meeting on a sad note. We want to recognize the passing of Raymond Elias. Ray Elias, 77 of Westport, peacefully passed away on Wednesday, October 29, with his family by his side. He was the son of the late William Elias Jr. and the late Almerinda Machado Elias. He was born in Acushnet, grew up in Dartmouth, and was a 1967 graduate of Dartmouth High School. He attended Bristol Community College. He was a veteran of the United States Navy. He served 2 tours of duty in Vietnam aboard the Navy ships USS New Jersey, BB-62, and the USS Preble, DLG-15, and was detached to the Naval Supply Support in Vietnam during de-escalation of the war. He attained the rank of boatswain mate second class upon discharge of his service. He lived in Westport for over 50 years. He worked at Lee's Market for 48 years until his retirement. He was a communicant of St. John the Baptist Church in Westport. He was very well known by many for his involvement with the Westport Youth Basketball League and the Westport Babe Ruth League. He was the first recipient of the Westport Youth Athletic Association Founders Award in 2012. And in 2013, the Westport Elementary School Gymnasium was named after him. Here in town, he served on the Zoning Board of Appeals since 2021 and the Agricultural Commission since 2019. Survivors include his son Quentin, his wife Audrey, his 2 sisters, Nancy Augustine and her husband Robert, and Linda Elias and Theron and her husband Wally, his 2 grandchildren, Isabella and Lillian, his former wife, Susan Elias, along with many nieces and nephews. The funeral will be held on Thursday, November 6th at 9:30 at Potter Funeral Home, followed by a mass of Christian burial at St. John the Baptist at 10:30. There are calling hours in Westport from 5 to 8 on November 5. I remember Ray from the veterans organizations that he was a part of, and he always made a point to come and talk to us about the veterans group and the things he was doing, and he was telling stories about Fontaine and some of the people that the Fontaine and La Tessa. He actually told stories at those veterans events, and I know he really cared about Westport, and he's going to be a great loss to us. Anybody else want to say anything about Ray?
Well, I knew Ray vaguely because I had most of my kids were involved in Westport youth athletics. So I knew him both for his coaching, but more specifically, he was also umpiring sometimes. More recently, within the last year, we get a lot of, in my day job, we get a lot of complaints about how state agencies have treated people. And he called to say he wanted to praise and thank some particular state employee for what they had done to assist him when he was working with that agency. So he'll be missed.
I knew him well, mainly from select board work. He was always interested in what was going on, maybe why I voted a certain way, and things of that nature. I also attend the same church that he does, and I would see him there often. He will be sorely missed.
I echo those sentiments. I think Ray was a fixture in the community, and unfortunately, as time goes on, we're losing the great Westport residents that make the town what it is.
So our thoughts and prayers are with the Elias family. The next thing I wanted to mention is we have some upcoming Veterans Day events. So we're going to miss Ray at these events. On Thursday, November 6th, the Friends of the Council on Aging Veterans Breakfast. So Thursday, November 6th at 9 a.m., the Council on Aging breakfast. On Monday, November 10, there'll be Veterans Day ceremonies at Westport schools, at the elementary and at the middle high, and then at the Macomber. And then on Tuesday, November 11, there will be our annual Veterans Day ceremony to pay tribute to the courage, sacrifice, and dedication of the men and women who've worn our nation's uniform. That'll be at the Veterans Monument at the Beech Grove Cemetery. Unless inclement weather, it'll move to the Town Hall Annex. So November 6th for the breakfast, November 10 at the schools, and then November 11 for the ceremony at the cemetery. Also, Town Hall will be closed on November 11. Our next regular meeting is 2 weeks from today, I think. 2 weeks from today. There was briefly a under 48 hours rule on the posting, and that's not, we're not having that.
We were able to put it off to the next meeting.
Okay, so the one that got added kind of last minute, we are not going to entertain that last minute ruling. Okay, anything else in the way of welcome comments? All right, our first order of business today, we have a public hearing, but it's not till 6:25, so we're skipping to 2. Our first order of business is the town administrator search update, and we'll have an interview. And we have here Bernie Lynch, who helped us with the town administrator search. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the process that we went through and how we came about with this proposed applicant here?
Sure. I think first, I want to thank you, the town, for choosing to work with us on this search. It's a very competitive time. It has been for some period of time now to find town managers, town administrators for communities throughout the Commonwealth. Westport went into the market at a time that there were a number of searches taking place. We had, I think at one point during this process, we had 30 towns. There's 351 cities and towns, of which there's a number of cities in there, some 40 cities, but 30 some odd communities were looking for town administrators or town managers during that same period of time. And and that continues to go on. There's just continue to be communities, as one community fills, another community opens up. So it's been a very competitive time for communities to find managers and administrators. We came in and we did what we normally do, and that is to work with the town to identify what you were looking for from the town administrator for the town of Westport, what the skill set were, what the issues are that are facing the town, the type of person you want to fill this position. We used all of that information as well as our own research to develop a position statement that was used to market the position. We did substantial amount of outreach, advertising the position locally, statewide, nationally. We did outreach to hundreds of people indirectly through emails and correspondence. But beyond that, we focused in on some 30 people that we knew that were in the region or that may have some interest in the position. We received 29 resumes for the position, which we reviewed with the screening committee that was established. The response that we had, the response was a good response in terms of total numbers, but obviously we're focused in on the most qualified people that we looked at. We had a number of strong, qualified people that the committee looked at and identified those that should be interviewed. Unfortunately, we also lost a number of those people that should be interviewed as other communities hired or selected those people for those positions. The committee moved forward to interview 4 applicants, and based upon the interviews with those 4 applicants, really found 2 very strong candidates that they felt should be brought to the board for consideration. That would be just natural individuals that could move forward in a town like Westport for the position of town administrator. Unfortunately, one of those candidates did withdraw. The committee met, reviewed next steps, reviewed all of the resumes again. Again, we had some candidates that had some experience, but they had some track records in their prior employment that were concerning. And the committee felt very strongly, and I think there's members that are here tonight that can speak to this as well, felt very strongly that we had a very strong candidate that should be brought to the board and not lost at any opportunity here, lose the opportunity to interview this person. And so we're happy to have that candidate here to meet with the board tonight and to answer your questions and explain their interest and explain how they fit into what Westport is looking for. That's Christopher Vitale. He's currently the assistant in the neighboring town of Dartmouth, has substantial municipal experience in Dartmouth, as well as a prior position in Leicester, as well as Bristol, Rhode Island, but I'll let him give his full background to you and why he's interested in the position. But I think the committee and us as your consultants feel that he's a very strong candidate that should be considered by the board for this position.
All right, thank you. Before we bring him in, Craig or Jake, anything you want to add to what Bernie just said?
I think Bernie captured it well. I mean, I think because we talked about, should we only bring one candidate? And it came down to, this was our top person. And we thought we would be better off just riding with the top person than either trying to convince somebody who decided to withdraw or to convince somebody that we weren't entirely convinced of ourselves to come in for this process. So in terms of the integrity of the process, I think we did the right approach.
Thank you. Jake?
I echo Craig's sentiments on that. I think, most importantly, I think the public's will be concerned that there is one candidate being brought forward. But Bernie laid out the process pretty well with respect to the number of candidates we had. We did end up in a bit of a situation where we limited it down to about 12 and then decided about 6 of those we were going to interview. But when we got to the interview process, we did have 2 individuals that withdrew because both got positions in other areas, both in the private sector and the public sector. And then when we went back to the pool to try to invite a couple of more candidates, they either had other opportunities or declined our offer. So that's why we ended up with a small number of interviews that we had. The 2 finalists that we ended up with, I think both of them would have been great. I think you'll see with Chris Vitale, who we're going to interview here this evening, very strong resume, really strong, and I think he will be an asset to the town if we do move forward in that arena. But again, I think the concern from the public perception is, why do we not have more people, applying for a job that pays, we publicly $175,000. It's a limiting factor. I think Bernie and the screening committee talked about it in the first place. Is Westport is kind of landlocked. We're stuck between Rhode Island and commuting to Westport. It's not necessarily the easiest for some of these people in Massachusetts that have experience with Mass General Law. I think that was also a concern with some of the candidates that we did have. Some were from out of state, and I don't think the learning curve would have worked out very well trying to learn Mass General Law, town meeting, and various other intricacies that happen here in the Commonwealth. So I think the committee that we had in place, along with Bernie, did the best that we could do, and I think we still came out with the best candidate.
Can you just remind us who was on the committee?
So the committee consisted of Cindy Brown, Sue Brayton, Craig Dutra, myself, and then Chief Dunn, and then obviously Bernie Lynch was on there kind of quarterbacking us.
Thank you all for the work you did. Yep.
I just have one question. In the, what I hope is unlikely event that this gentleman does not accept the job, did the committee consider a backup plan, or what would next steps be if that?
I think the next step would probably be going back out into the market. And it's a market that, unfortunately, Westport is not alone. A number of communities are experiencing the same issue. But that would be really the only solution.
Well, you talked about it, you have a plan, and that's
So that would be it.
good to know.
Yep.
Okay. I think we're ready for the candidates.
Okay. We've got it. These chairs. I'd like to introduce introduce Christopher Bell.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you so much. Sit down, hand these out.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello again.
Nice seeing you again.
I'm all set. You need a copy?
All right. Thank you, Chris. Let the chair take over here in terms, but well, maybe I could, if I could just jump in, maybe if you could.
Yeah, why don't you, so Chris, welcome. So I just want to acknowledge this is a weird situation, right? That you're interviewing in public on a public meeting. I do want to, we talked about the committees. So Jake and Chris have had, or Jake and Craig have had a chance to really have a more in-depth interview with you. So it's going to seem a little bit like this is a cursory interview, but it's a lot of the deep dive has already been done. We did get your resume in advance, so the materials that you just handed us, we were in our packet, so we had a chance to review them. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brings you here applying for this job here in Westport?
Absolutely. So first, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Also, thank you to the screening committee. I know there's a couple members here as well, for the opportunity to meet me ahead of time and to advance my candidacy. So, I guess just to get started, why I'm here, this is an opportunity that really excites me. I think when you look at my background and my experience, I think it fits very well with what the challenges Westport's currently facing. I think that I'm uniquely qualified to help the community address those challenges. So, as you said, you have my resume, but just to give a brief highlight about some of my background, I've been a part of projects that have looked at the reuse of decommissioned school buildings. I've helped our current community establish and develop a process for administering opioid funding that's recently been received by various Massachusetts communities. I've worked in communities to help implement licensing and permitting online. And I've also worked to advance housing initiatives. So I've worked with, and I'm actively working with our partner agency over at SERPID on our housing production plan, as well as working with our local affordable housing trust on advancing a couple of local different housing programs and initiatives. So, that's just a few of the examples. But again, I think, when I look at what is on the horizon here in Westport, I'm excited. There's a lot of things that I feel like I could really sink my teeth into.
So we have the benefit of your resume, but the people out there don't. So just to highlight some of the positions you've had. So from 2017 to 2022, you were Director of Economic Development and Communications for the town of Bristol, Rhode Island. In 2022, you were Assistant Town Administrator in the town of Leicester. Since 23, you were Assistant Town Administrator and then for a time co-interim Town Administrator at the town of Dartmouth.
Yes.
So can you just talk a little bit about, so you talked a little bit about some of your projects you've worked on. So why Westport?
So I think a couple of reasons. One, I think based on where two of the communities I've currently served in, it has been on the South Coast, Bristol being right across the state line, and Dartmouth. So I do have familiarity with the community. I think when you look at even the style of government, I think I have experience open town meeting form of government, which I know is a little bit different than Dartmouth's representatives. So, when you look at the operation, the budget, I've had an opportunity to tour the community. I have some close colleagues that I've been able to, talk about and just see whether or not it'd be a good fit. And, I think when I look at all of that together, just made me drawn to the community. One of the other things within the job statement that really struck with me was the fact that you're looking for someone with a long-term commitment. And, I've been assistant town administrator in 2 communities. This would be my first time in the town administrator post on a full-time permanent basis. And, that would be very meaningful to me. And so I'd really want to make a commitment to the community.
And then can you talk, it looks like you have it here, but can you talk a little bit about how, if we were to bring you on board, how would you spend like the first 30, 60, 90 days that you were here?
Sure. So I'll say even before that, the work starts even before day one. So I've already done a lot of research, but there's even more that I'd really need to jump into before that. Most importantly, I want to sit down with each of you individually to get a better idea of what your communication styles are. Are there any concerns that you see or have currently? And what is your preferences for operating as a board? I want to make sure coming in that, I'm doing my best on day one. The other thing is I know that we are entering budget season, and here in Westport, those conversations have already started. So I also understand that I'm going to need to get up to speed as to what progress has been made there to meet the February deadline to submit a budget into FinCom. So in addition to that, 30 days, really starting to have those introductory conversations with department heads, trying to understand the conditions on the ground, challenges that they're facing, how I can best serve them as the town administrator, and beginning conversations with, the community as a whole. So getting my name out there, being available for residents who come and have questions. And as you look to the 60 and 90 days, again, it's, starting to build those relationships, finishing up the budget in preparation for the town meeting in May. And ultimately, at the end of the 90 days, what I'd like to do is, take those conversations, the feedback, and be able to submit something to this board so that we can have a conversation as to, what those expectations look like going forward, and maybe thinking some of the long-term strategic goals that the board wants to achieve.
Thank you. Dick, do you have any questions?
Yes, I would like to ask Mr. Vitale, the schools are such a big part of any community, including the budget.
Of course.
What do you see as I'll call it the I'm going to say game plan, but the interaction between a town administrator and a school? By the way, there's a new superintendent. But what are some of your thoughts about having a good relationship with the school, and particularly when you have to make the decision with the help of us that sometimes they can't get all the money that they need? And how do we bring that about but still go forward?
Right. So I think having a relationship with the school is of critical importance. They are 46% of the budget, and when you consider other benefits, that's a lion's share of the budget. So I know, in Massachusetts and the environment that we're in, we're obviously constrained by Proposition 2.5. And so being able to have those conversations continuously throughout the year, when you're starting the development of a budget, looking at the revenues and being able to share that information so that they can make informed decisions as they look at their numbers and what they need to do on their side of things. With that, I think, again, assisting them where we can in terms of operational efficiencies. Are there opportunities there to partner with them to take some of that burden off of them on the administrative side? And then the other thing is, in Dartmouth, one of the things that we did this past year was we were able to use our opioid funding to help with some of their programming efforts, things that they couldn't fund through their annual budget, but we were able to provide them opioid funding for different programming for the students. So, creative solutions like that, but it really starts with having open and consistent career communications. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there anything, so Craig and Jake, I know you guys have spoken with them already, but is there anything you want to highlight or any questions that you have?
So obviously Craig and I had a little over an hour or so with Chris, so I think we kind of covered everything. But the one thing that, and I can't take credit for this, but one of the things that did come out of our discussions is just a concern, I want you to kind of address it with respect to the difference between Dartmouth and Westport, right? I think coming into Westport, there's some fiscal issues that you'll be addressing, and the concern from some of us in the group were that the revenue is not really comparable to Dartmouth, with the commercial base that you have in Dartmouth and obviously a much greater kind of economic development going on there. How would you address that as a town administrator trying to balance the budget with kind of a lack of revenue that you actually have in Dartmouth?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things that as a community we could look to explore. So the first being you have, untapped and you have a huge asset in the old school, right? So that's $150,000, that you're spending on an annual basis to keep the facility operational. As, we have conversations looking at potential reuse options, there's been the discussion about combining some of your municipal facilities into one building, which could provide savings versus, as I said, having multiple heating bills, having, different replacement schedule for, HVAC and just general repairs of the buildings. The second is at the state level, they just came out with a new 40Y zoning district. That is for starter homes, so it almost serves as a, open space residential development where, they will provide you incentives for creating these special zones. There's an opportunity there. At the state level, they also are considering the Municipal Empowerment Act, which would provide communities more local options for different revenue sources, increasing some of the local option taxes that are in place right now. I know in recent years that's something Westport's already looked at, but that would give you some more flexibility to decide whether or not any of those would be a good fit here in town. And again, just operational efficiencies. As I mentioned before, is there an opportunity to work with the schools on shared services? Is there an opportunity to regionalize for some of the programming or other services that we want to provide going forward? So I'd look at all of those things and bring that back to the board so we figure out what's the best fit for Westport.
Thank you. Craig, anything?
Just, obviously, as chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, they'd be interested in talking more at length with you about that, some of the opportunities and challenges that we see. And I like the fact that you have been able to work more effectively with the school department in terms of deploying some of your opioid settlement funds. I actually am looking and hoping for a stronger relationship with the school department and us on the use of those funds right now in Westport.
All right, anything else you want to tell us that we haven't asked you?
No, I mean, I have my couple of questions, but
Go ahead. If you want to ask questions, that's fine.
so I guess just in the first year, what would you consider, well, I guess let me reframe it. How would you define success for the town administrator in their first year?
I don't know, did we talk about that?
No, we,
I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I think, Jim's been here for some time, but I think this offers you an opportunity to create a role for yourself. I think it's the ability to kind of craft it into what you think is successful. I think there's concern amongst the community that, everyone's in, silos. I mean, here in any company or any town that there's silos and people kind of doing their own thing. I mean, if you could bring that back, maybe help to increase morale with some of the employees, I think that's the stuff that I think will have a lasting impact. And that's something that probably could be accomplished in the first year. But there's one thing you're going to realize pretty fast is that unlike Dartmouth, we don't have the ability to kind of delegate a lot of stuff. Our departments aren't very large with respect to Dartmouth. So I think this is a role that you're going to have to grow in, and it's going to be a steep learning curve. And, success will be hopefully you not quitting in 6 months to a year.
I think, thank you for letting me have a chance to think about that. So I think the first year is going to be a tricky one because not only is the person coming into the town administrator role new, but we have a new administrative assistant and a new assistant to the town administrator, right? So I think you have this opportunity to kind of reshape the department that we've started reshaping. And, but mostly, you're going to start by listening. I want you to start by listening and understanding where the problems are. And then where the opportunities are, and let's build on where we're strong, and let's figure out what we got to do to shore up where we're not as strong. So I think success for me looks like we don't really notice that there's a new town administrator for a while, and probably until the next budget cycle. And then we kind of see, your mark on it, is kind of where my thought is. You guys want to add anything?
I'd like to add that if somebody would say next year, or many people would say that he's sort of taken us to a new level. He's developed us, he's made us stronger, he's made us better. You can have that kind of impact on people. That, to me, would be a huge success and would probably obviate anything else that's secondary to it, because that would get the job done.
No?
Thank you.
You want to add anything? Okay, got anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay. All right, so I did talk a little bit with Bernie about this, about whether we want to deliberate about this, or we just want to make a motion. I'm fine with just a motion.
I move that we appoint him as town administrator.
You want to make that subject to successful contract negotiations?
Yes, subject to successful contract negotiations.
All right,
Second?
do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Welcome. Well, not yet, but, so Jake and Craig, do you want to keep going with the contract negotiation, or is there somebody else who would like to do the contract negotiation?
I'm fine, but I would step aside if Dick got involved.
Dick, you want to do that?
Sure.
All right, so Dick and Jake, is that fair?
Yeah, it's good to have a fresh set of eyes on that.
Okay, great. So we can coordinate through Bernie.
I'll
I don't know who to coordinate through.
continue to help coordinate this. So I'll set up some time to
Okay.
do a Zoom call or something.
Great. Okay.
All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope it all works out, and we're welcoming you very quickly.
Well, thank you, and it's an honor. It truly is. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're, of course, welcome to stay for the rest of the Plenty of time.
Yeah, I think.
Have a good seat.
Good luck.
Hey, Carol, I just want you to know that I did announce all the veterans events earlier. In case that's the only reason you're here. I announced them all. Everybody go attend the veterans events.
Nope, I think we're all set.
Yeah, do you want to go ahead and say something about the veterans events, Carol, while you're here? Good, just go to the mic.
I don't know what was said, so if I'm repeating,
Go ahead.
I apologize. So next Tuesday is Veterans Day, and there are several events happening here in Westport. Starting this Thursday at 9 a.m. Is the Council on Aging Veterans Breakfast. It is pretty full. They have maybe 6 or 7 slots left. Unfortunately, it does conflict with Ray Elias's funeral. I don't know if you did an acknowledgement for Ray already.
We did, yeah.
So it does conflict with that a little bit. We're trying to get the caterer a little bit early, if possible. If not, we're just going to do the best we can so that those who want to attend Ray's funeral certainly are able to, myself included. Ray was a very big advocate for me in my role here, and I will truly miss him.
Can you repeat the
so-
time for that again?
I'm sorry, what?
The time for that?
His funeral, for the breakfast or for his funeral? Well, they're both 9 a.m. on Thursday morning.
You contact the COA, right?
Yes, yes. And then next Monday, November 10th, all 3 Westport schools are having ceremonies. The elementary school is at 8:45, and there we greet the students as they come in, and then they do a ceremony for us in the auditorium, and then if we have time, we go to some of the classrooms. From there, we go to the middle school for 9:45. The veterans are all up on stage. It's a formal program with speakers, myself included. I introduce all of the veterans that are there. We have right now 28 veterans signed up. If a veteran wants to do that ceremony, they do have to contact me to sign up, so we have enough seats and I know who's there so I can introduce them. And then at 11 o'clock is the Macumber School, which is a short ceremony. And then on Tuesday, the 11th, Veterans Day itself, we are having our annual ceremony at 10 a.m. We have, Shauna is speaking on behalf of the Select Board. Representative Olet is going to speak, and then our keynote speaker is Anthony Branco, who is, he served in both the Navy and the Air Force, and retired from the Air Force. Right now, the weather is looking good, a little chilly, but not rainy, so it will be at the cemetery unless the weather forecast changes between now and then. If it does change, I will post that information on the town's website, and I also have a Westport VSO Facebook page that I'll post any changes. So those are the events coming up in the next week. So it's a busy time for me.
Thank you, Carol. All right, so now we're backing up to 1A. We have a petition for Verizon New England and NSTAR Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy to install one jointly owned mid-span pole P95 and one jointly owned mid-span pole P92 on the west side of Horse Neck Road. Is there someone here representing that? Welcome. Can you just introduce yourself and tell us what you got going on here?
Yes, my name is John Moore, and I'm here to represent Verizon with this midspan pole that is here before the town council.
Can you tell us about why you need a new pole?
Yes, so on Horse Neck Road, I believe around 607 Horse Neck Road, there's the development that's going on there as we speak, and in order to serve that development with electricity and/or telecommunications, they have to install a pole, a midspan pole between two poles right now, because if they put the new electric on top of the older poles, it's going to create pole load, which means it's going to make it an unsafe condition to feed that new development. So that's the reason why they want to go between pole 90.5 and pole 92 is where that midspan's going to be. Purely for safety purposes only, obviously, with the new electric going there, and also telecommunications.
All right, thank you. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments? This is a public hearing. Does anyone from the public have any questions or comments? You can just come up to the microphone. And just say your name.
Yes, this is Sue Annickerson, pleasure. I just wanted to know the location of the poles, like where exactly are they? Because they look there in projection of like where Petty Lane is.
So in this case right here, with this midspan pole, it is going to be, and I do have a little
I couldn't
drawing.
identify it on the map.
Oh, on the map itself?
Like, well, on there, I couldn't,
I
I
have a
didn't.
picture, it's a little
Okay, I was just curious,
black and white.
that's
If you
all.
want to take a look at it, just in case. So right now, I believe the former, or the property before, might have been for a farmer or something of that nature, if I'm not mistaken. So I have a little, like I said, I have a picture right here of where that pole is going to be going. And it looks like it was around the entrance of like where that little farm area used to be, I guess, or where the new development is going to be going.
Is
there.
it on the same side as Petty Lane, or is it on the opposite side?
It is going to be on the, it's going to be on the west side of Horse Neck Road, which is,
Petty Lane isn't on your chart here.
no, it's not even on my map either.
This is just south of 607 Horse Neck Road.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, that's all. I wanted to know the,
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not even, I don't even have.
oh, because I see a junction box at the end, so I wasn't sure if that was being changed or if it was just the pole.
Yep, no, it's just going to be a new pole to go in between two existing poles.
Okay, very good.
That's what they're going to be doing.
All right, well, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, I'd move the acceptance of this petition.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor and 1 absent. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And this will not be part of any wind farms. I promise you.
You already prepped for that?
I've already been here before.
Wind farms and solar? All
This
right.
is not my first time in the Westport Town Hall.
Notice I supported it.
All right. Thank you again.
I read, it was okay.
Have a great night. Thank you again.
Thank you.
So now we're on 3A. We have a request from Chris Stinson, the town clerk, to appoint Eileen Dickinson to the position of assistant town clerk. Do you want to say something?
really have much to say. Do you have
This is
any questions?
Christensen, your town clerk, who we stole her assistant town clerk,
Which is really great.
so she has to hire a new one.
We have an obligation to make it expedited then.
Yes.
It hasn't been expedited. Yeah, I would like, I request that you appoint Eileen Dickinson. She has plenty of office experience. I feel confident. She seemed very pleasant, would be resident-focused and capable, so I feel good about her. And I would like her to start tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. What do you think?
Jim, do you have a recommendation?
Recommend approval.
Thank you.
Make a motion to approve.
For November 4th. Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Anything you want anybody to know while you're here?
No?
Okay.
No, thank you.
Thank you. There's no election in Westport tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, there's no election in Westport tomorrow. No.
I think they're right.
April, there's an election in April. That's the next election.
Thank you. We have a request from John Resendes, the Westport Community Television Director, to appoint John Maddock to the position of Production Assistant and Kaysen Avila to the position of Camera Operator. You want to say anything, or no? John Resendes.
Hi, folks.
Hey, John.
So, John Maddock will be replacing David, who, we parted ways with David. So that position's already funded for this year. It's in the budget. And Kaysen is going to be, he's a student at the high school, and he's replacing the 2 students I lost to graduation that we haven't replaced yet.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor and 1 absent.
Very good. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
We have a request to appoint the following members to the Bike Path Committee: Gail Rodricks, Edward Hahn, Keith McDonald, and Megan O'Brien. There's nobody here for that, is there?
Move approval.
To second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair? I was wondering why these appointments are being made at this time. Was there some urgency to that, or it seems to be out of pattern with our usual appointment cycle?
Do you know? I suspect it was just we forgot to appoint them last, when we were in the big cycle.
I have no objection, I was just curious.
I also was appointed that path, but I might have been appointed and the rest of them didn't, maybe. Wait, did we have a motion?
Yes.
Yes, we did. Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a request from Christopher Dunn, Westport Police Chief, to reappoint Christopher Rosa to the position of full-time officer. Jim, there's no one here for that.
I'd recommend approval. The first 3 years, they reappoint the officers. I'd recommend approval.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. And we have a request to reappoint Perry Long to the Beach Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. All right, 4A, we have a request to approve a contract amendment for Fern Sem Corp. Jim, you want to tell us what this is about?
Yeah, this again goes with the water line contract. Roger Fernandez with Fern Sem has been working with us on this project from the beginning. He actually worked on the water and sewer project prior to that. We limit the contracts to a certain amount. It gives us the ability to request an amendment, and it doesn't tie up additional money unless needed. The scope has changed, as we stated at the previous meeting. It's increased over the last year or two. We had additional work on Route 6. We added East Briggs Road, 5th and 6th Street, so his work has increased as well. I know we had some questions on the management in a previous meeting. In addition to Fern Sem, we had another company that was on-site doing the inspections on a daily basis. For the milling and the paving that's going on this week, we actually requested that Roger from Fern Sem be on-site for those 3 days in full, and he will take the place of the previous inspectors. Roger is much more familiar with this work, and I'd recommend approval.
And just to be clear, so this is to authorize an amendment for $25,000
Yes.
to the contract. All right, do we have any discussion?
Madam Chair? Thank you. So on October 20th, we had a change order from Engineered Concepts for $30,000 in savings with respect to that. What were they doing in reference to what Fern Corp was doing with respect to the project?
So Fern Corp has been kind of overseeing them and helping the town with direction as far as the project goes. ECI was the actual on-site inspections. They were out there daily. We had a contract for them for $170,000. We reduced it by $30,000, and we should be able to reduce it a little bit more as well. Again, Roger is more familiar with this. I think him being on site, especially during this time when they're doing the milling and the paving, it's going to benefit the town. There was other work that Mr. Fernandez did as part of this project. He walked the town through the override question with the sewer and water project early on. He's been working with the engineer, as well as the town, coordinating the grants, the federal grants, state grants, the earmarks. He's been helping with that as well, so. He's also liaison with the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. So as they've been looking at different areas and different options, he's been evaluating those and providing papers on those, and cost estimates and so forth.
And then, in that same meeting, I think we agreed that we were taking basically a credit of $28,500 from the gas company too, or from Liberty Utilities?
Yeah, working with Chris Gonzalez, we met with the gas company. They had done some work on Greenwood and Osborne Street. They have a temporary patch there now. Instead of them doing the permanent patch, that work will be included in this paving contract to give us an overlay of the entire street instead of a patch. So they're going to reimburse the town the $28,500 for that work.
And where is that going? Where is that 28.5 going? Is that going to PJ Keating that's going to do the overlay, or is it going to?
It'll go to Diggett. PJ Keating is a subcontractor for Diggett.
Okay. All right. Just in the backup information that you've given us, you said that his contract right now is approximately $12,000 over,
Yeah.
and we anticipate another $13,000 to get us to close out. In my opinion, I'm not a big fan of giving someone a blank check that they know it's a full $13,000 to kind of fulfill. So in my opinion, I would just fill out the 12, agree to pay him the $12,000 and then have line item invoice for the rest of it. But that's just my opinion. We seem to be shifting money here and there and moving it to someone who I don't think deserves it based on the project management. But either way, I'm not one to give someone a blank check for $13,000 just to close out a contract.
Jim, can you talk about how Fern Sem is reimbursed? Do they submit hourly rates, or how does that work?
Yeah, so he'll submit a monthly invoice based on hourly rates. I believe it's $110 per hour for the company itself. For any time that he does, there's no indirect cost. We don't pay for mileage. We don't pay for printing, office use. That's the only cost he charged. And I have to say, at least the billing over the last 2 or 3 years, what we've seen has been very fair.
Madam Chair?
Yep.
Just to further, based on what Mr. McGuigan was asking, it says $13,000 to get us to closeout. What does to closeout mean? Does it have certain functions that have to occur, certain things that have to be checked, whatever?
So this would be closeout of the overall contract. So we would, we hold retainage on Diggett Construction. They actually have a warranty or a guarantee for 2 years on some of the paving issues. But we will get, I'm hoping we can close out with them by the end of this year. So that'll be finished paving of those streets, East Briggs, Gifford, Osborne, Greenwood. Any additional, I think we're waiting on 3 or 4 different connections to some properties on Route 6. We had to wait, the water test just came back today on that last section of Route 6. That was pressure test and the water test. That came back positive, so we can now hook up those last couple of businesses. And once those are done, that would be once the Diggett contract closes out, that's essentially the end of the contract.
Thank you.
And then I think at some point, the board and the Infrastructure Oversight Committee may have to make a decision whether or not to have him continue. It would be a separate proposal with the select board on the additional grants that we have.
And can you talk about how this is funded?
So this is funded a number of sources. We have some ARPA funds, 2 different ARPA funds that we've been using. We had a $1 million earmark from Senator Rodrigues, and we had a $4 million PFAS grant from the state and the federal government, which was, I think, the second highest grant in the state at the time. We had PFAS at a couple of public water supplies along Route 6. We also had high manganese at the Macomb School. So this project does address those issues.
So my understanding is that he's been doing a phenomenal job already, managing what we've asked him to do as kind of the owner's project manager and then taking on some additional tasks. So I think, you know, you're supposed to come to people with a contract extension before you incur $12,000 of costs. So I'm a little disappointed they didn't come earlier, but I think it makes sense to have a does not exceed. There, it is listed, the scope of service is listed in the amendment. So it's not an additional 13,000, it's a not to exceed so that we don't have to keep amending the contract. So I think that's fair. Before we go to the, did you have?
Madam Chairman, just one more thing. Again, the backup materials that we have here is very qualitative in nature. It's not quantitative. If you divide $12,000 by $110 an hour, that's 100 hours of work. And if I'm looking at these bullet points, it's a lot of time. I mean, we're doing the full 5 days of this outreach that essentially was done on here. So if we're looking at 25,000, we're looking at 220 hours. Again, I'm looking, we can talk about it coming from grant money, but it still is coming from the taxpayers of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and from the taxpayers of Westport to fund this project. So I'm not one for saving money 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago and then now moving it to an engineering company that will not give a line item for everything that's been done.
We
So
have a scope of service, and you're talking about the.
I'm just saying that the backup that I have presented with the agenda of what a portion of these hours have been, again, $12,000 is 110 hours of work, and if we're going another, we're dealing with about 240 hours. So that's fine. I mean, I know which direction we're going to go with this, but that's
Is
where
there
I'm at.
anything else from the board before we move to the audience?
No.
Maury?
Yes, Madam Chairman, name is Maury May. I'm Vice Chair of the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. And in that position, I have been working with Fern Corp., Roger Fernandez, for 2 years, and I've always found him to be a very, very competent person. I was on the search committee to hire him, and the $110 an hour was actually the lowest. We had another company come in with, with 3 employees in the range of 140 up to about 190. And so I wouldn't try to short him on the bill, and I also wouldn't like to short him on the balance of the 25,000 that's being requested, simply because there is more work to close out this current contract. We are in transition, and I will say that our current and retiring town administrator is an expert in water and sewer, and we're going to miss him as we go forward. We're going to need some continuity here with Roger Fernandez. I know his employment was controversial, but I also know that this is not employment. This is consulting. He's Fern Corporation. He is a consultant, and I hope he has other clients. I hope we're not his only client. But I would support this 25,000 request from Jim. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I move we accept the town administrator's recommendation as presented.
Second, Madam Chair.
Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
So there's 3 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent.
And it will be a lot cheaper than the 124,000 they're going to hire him for.
We have 4B, we have a request to approve the Mass DOT agreement for the intersection of Gifford Road and American Legion Highway. Jim, you want to explain this one?
Yes, we received a $150,000 earmark a couple of years ago for improvements at Gifford Road and Route 177. We are going through the permitting process with Mass DOT. Mass DOT has prepared an agreement that they just want the town to sign. We're looking to replace the blinking lights that are on the corners of Gifford Road and 177 with an overhead blinking light. This would be a much easier, well, it is an easier process to permit as opposed to the roundabout that's going at 177 Robert Street. We were able to do this through the permit process with Mass DOT, but they still require an agreement with the town. So I'd recommend that the town vote to approve the agreement, and we can move forward with the construction process of that signal.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, one quick question. So the backup material says this is a $150,000 earmark that obviously Senator Roderick's got for the town. $150,000 blinking light, is that what we're getting?
No, it's much more than that.
Really?
Yes.
This is, okay.
I'm hoping they're saying we can get it done for the 150. The roundabout is like, because we're going through this permitting process instead of the full 5-6 year design process, it's normally required with Mass DOT. They feel we can get it done. This includes the design as well. I think we had 30 or 40,000 for design. We're gonna be looking at just over 100 for the, anything you do with Mass Highway is expensive.
So it's a
So we've already
$100,000
spent-
blinking light?
We've already,
100,000, at
we've
least.
already- but wait, how much have we already spent? Okay, wait.
I think we had a design contract for $30,000 to $40,000.
Okay. I know people were talking about putting in like a regular proper stoplight there, but that's like $1 million for a stoplight.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Not to mention that we would have a hard time getting state to.
Yeah. No, it's a state highway, and that's what they're recommending. So we get the new kind of flashy light, or we get nothing.
As someone who drives through that many times a week, I think it would be an improvement and a safety improvement.
Yeah.
And there've been a number of fairly significant accidents that have occurred at that intersection.
Yeah.
And so it's making it safer, because it's been a hazardous intersection.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most hazardous intersections in town.
Yeah. All right, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second, Madam Chair.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Says 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a request from Bill Chase to approve a 1-year moratorium on all private moorings permits for 2026. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. So that's exactly what we're asking for. We're asking for a 1-year moratorium on the approval of any new private mooring permits within the Westport River. There are several reasons for this. Oh, by the way, this did go through the Harbor Advisory Committee already. They have approved it, so here we are. We don't have a reliable database of where all the private moorings are in the river. And on top of that, we're concerned about the condition of those moorings. Currently, we use the honor system for the owners to report to us the condition of their mooring, and I think we all know how that honor system works. So it's a point of concern for us. And I would give an example of, you may think just a boat drifting along the river is no big deal. But if that vessel weighs 1,000 pounds, 1,500 pounds, and it's being pushed by wind and wave, it can cause some damage. So we want some integrity as to the condition of all these private moorings. We just don't have a reliable database of where they all are. We don't have anything on a map per se. We've got names, we got owners' names, we have permit numbers, we've got phone numbers and addresses, but we don't have anything that we can apply to a chart. So I think we need to kind of take a break from issuance of new permits in order for us to get our hands around this issue. We get a lot of requests over the summertime from folks who if you've just bought a piece of riverfront property and you've got a boat, well, of course, you want your own private permit, your own private mooring. Before we continue on addressing those new moorings, we're just asking for a break, if you will, from approving any more until we can get a grip on the condition and the location of the private moorings in the river.
Do you have any idea how many new moorings we get in a year, in a typical year?
How many applications we get over the course of the year? There were probably a dozen that came into the office over the course of this summer. There may have been others who, sought through various avenues to get that as well. There is a process for this that has to go through the Harbor Advisory Committee. I would say they would probably tell you they've been a little slow on acting on all of that. And on top of that, we have not reviewed the waterways regulations since 2012. And within those regulations are requirements for certain sizes of moorings based on the size of the boat that it would hold. So in addition to that, we need to establish some kind of criteria for inspection, not just the criteria of the inspection itself, but who can be allowed to inspect these moorings and then report back to us and the Harbor Advisory Committee that in fact these moorings are in usable condition.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dick.
Bill, I'm trying to just understand it. The problem is existing moorings that may be deficient, may be inadequate. We're talking here about new moorings. They'll all be adequate, I would think. They would all pass musters. So I see these as two separate problems. So why does the moratorium help with problem?
Well, just to give us a chance, Dick, to get a better grip on exactly where they are and to establish some criteria as to inspection and to condition of these particular moorings. So you're right, it is two different issues, but they all are kind of tied in the sense that we've got to manage them and monitor them, whether they're just new approvals or if they have in fact been in the river for some period of time.
As a follow-up, Madam Chair, so do these people have a right to these moorings?
Describe right.
Well, through some ownership of property in close proximity or deeded rights?
No, there's none of that, to my knowledge, Dick. The process basically is tell us where you'd like to have this mooring placed, and we'll go out and have a look and see if it fits. It's really kind of simplistic in this point. And I could give you an example, like if you wanted to put a mooring anywhere in the river, you could say, okay, Bill, I've got a Clorox bottle and it's floating in the river. Can you take a ride out there and have a look at it and tell me if that fits? That's literally where we are right now. So we need more structured criteria as to who gets approved, where they get approved, and then the condition of the mooring going forward. I don't think that there are, and to my knowledge, there are no other coastal towns that do not require private mooring inspections. If you go to Marion, if you go to Mattapoisett, Fairhaven, Dartmouth, they all require. I think Dartmouth is 3 years for all of their private mooring inspections. We don't have any of that. So we're concerned about the condition of the existing moorings, and we would like to have some more of a more structured approach to approving new private moorings going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair. Captain Bill, I appreciate all the work you're doing on this. I think one issue we've seen in conservation is with a lot of the dock permitting that comes through and the dock licensing. We've had some people come and say, well, I have a mooring right there, and trying to block the, obviously, construction of the dock because that mooring, which at that time we don't have a record of or anything of that sort. So I think that will help people on, obviously, both sides with respect to those who are at least trying to either upgrade their dock or those that actually will officially have moorings as opposed to just claiming a space. It's almost like they're just, you know, when I was in school, you had played Oregon Trail on an old Apple and you just claim the land. And I think that's probably what's kind of happening with some of these moorings right now. So I appreciate you at least trying to standardize this. And I think you're doing that a lot across the department and appreciate that. I know this may be an issue for some people that may buy a boat and want a new mooring in 2026, but trying to clean this up is probably paramount to some of our stuff we're dealing with.
Well, thank you for that, Jake. We did, as one aspect of this that I did leave out, we will establish a waiting list for those who want their private mooring beginning now. There are a few from last summer that I am aware of. They would obviously go to the top of that list. Anyone going forward, pending your approval, of course, would go on that waiting list based on when they contacted my office.
So it's the pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Anything else going on?
All kinds of stuff going on. I think you're going to see Rick here, I think, at the next meeting. He's
Okay.
got some pretty exciting stuff going on.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you for the hats and the bat.
Thank you.
But make sure, by the way, before you put it on, break in the brim a little bit.
We don't want a flat brim? We can't have a flat brim?
I don't know what
I'm too
that
old for that,
is,
Bill.
D, we have a request from Chris Gonzalez, the highway surveyor, to have executed a project acceptance letter to PJ Keating for the Phase 1 year 2025 work. Jim?
I'd recommend approval. This just dates the completion of the work and starts the one-year warranty on the Chapter 90 work.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a request from Maury May, Vice Chair of the Infrastructure Oversight Committee, for approval of a water line extension project. Welcome. I think they moved the other chair over there.
Again.
Yeah. We have Bob Daler and Maury May from the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. I think, did you have slides for this one?
I do have a couple.
I think you did. Okay.
Are these on?
Well, we got
You're on.
we got graphics and everything.
Oh, wow.
We're here with,
Can you just turn one of them off? It echoes sometimes when they're both on.
Turn one off?
Yeah, there you go.
we'll share. We're here as our role as advisors to the Board of Selectmen and to recommend a next phase of our water extensions. So this is with the new grant that we received from Representative Keating and a matching grant for the local share from our Senator Rodericks. So again, the committee and the town departments have been working together to secure as much funding so that none of this water work is going on the taxpayers, or at least the local taxpayers. So with that, Maury, we can walk through what our recommendations are going to be.
So at the last infrastructure meeting on September 3rd, we had a number of options to consider on how to spend essentially, $1.2 million. I mean, it's $1,199,000, but call it 1.2. And we had considerable discussion. We had half a dozen options. We had considerable discussion. And we had to have two options that came in under 1.2. And personally, I would like them to come in around $1 million so that we'd have a couple $100,000 for change orders or whatever as we move forward. Anyhow, there was very strong support for the Briggs Road Fire Station from your Select Board representative, as well as the Finance Committee representative, and personally. And that is an extension to the Briggs Road Fire Station from the existing water line as it comes down Gifford Road. And there's already like a 12-inch stub there
Yes.
to go over to the Briggs Road Fire Station. It might be a little difficult getting all the paperwork going under a state road, but it's still something that we had a strong feeling about, for the simple reason that it is a public safety issue. We had that big fire at Excel, and we had to call in water tanks from other towns to help us out. And even heard that our fire department somehow has to go to the head of Westport and pump it out of the river. So they need water there for public safety, and also it is a PFAS problem. They have that PFAS contamination in the well there. And that would come in someplace around, $550,000, I forget the actual number. The balance of the money would go to an Oakland Avenue loop. And you can see on the map there, it's changed from the original recommendation from Roger Fernandez, which came in a little over $600,000. So if we change it a little bit and take out unnecessary piping, it should come in, around, $500,000, which would help us leave some space there. The purpose there would be to bring clean water to more houses, and I think we could serve we could bring it to another 15 or so houses, but that hasn't been finalized exactly. But The first, this PFAS grant allowed us to extend the water line down Route 6 and into neighborhoods, and we got 38 residences to sign up. We got 7 commercial properties to sign up, and I think we now have something like 213 customers on our little water utility. And so these 2 projects would allow us to continue that expansion. I might add that, lo and behold, Representative Keating got us another federal grant, another earmark for 2026, and Senator Roderick said that, let him know, and he'll make sure we get the 20% matching grant. That would come to $1.3 million. And so we have these 2 little projects. This one, though, there was talk about combining them into one $2.5 million projects. But, given the clawback of federal funds on certain grants, we thought it'd be better to, bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, as they say. So we wanted to go forward with this $1.2 million project. And in talking to Senator Roderick, he totally agreed with that. So that's what we're here for. We're asking you to approve us going forward with this small water line extension.
This is the pursuing it, because we don't have a contract in front of us, right?
No,
So
no.
What is the approval that you're asking for?
Support, basically. Jim, help me out here. But
Yeah, I think they're just looking for the select board's blessing that this is a project that they should move forward on.
Okay. And I just want to reiterate, this is water only.
Yes.
Water only.
No one is going to be forced to connect,
Nobody's forced,
and there is no betterment.
no betterment, and no town meeting.
And this
You
is,
don't have to go to the town meeting asking for a loan.
There's,
and this is
there's-
no Westport tax dollar implications other than whatever the federal funding
It's
source,
federal and state.
federal and state.
And-
All right.
And we've been choosing all of looking at how we spend these monies, we've been attempting to run it into the areas that provide the most benefit to the most homes, particularly in the areas where we know they have small lots and wells that have either gone dry or have problems. So we've been looking at into these neighborhoods, and you can see from the maps, we're working with the smaller homes that have septic systems and older septic systems. So at least we're bringing clean water to these homes. And all of our decisions have been looking at that, with the exception of the extension to the fire department, which I think really is a public safety issue.
Okay, thank you. Anything from the board?
Madam Chair, first off, I think what this points out is, I know it came as a surprise that I actually supported this at the Infrastructure Oversight Committee. But I wanted to point out that the discussions that Bob and Maury and the group had were constructive. My point was that if we are going to do this, obviously a fire station seems to be pretty important with respect to needing water, and bringing that over to them and pointing out the Excel Recycling fire and talking to actually firefighters and those in the fire stations. So this was kind of one situation where we had a good discussion and moved forward, and I think this is good for all of Westport from a public safety standpoint, and I did support it, and I will support it here tonight.
Thank you. Do you have anything? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have a request for clarification of the sick leave buyback personnel bylaw. And there was a memo in our packet, but Jim, you want to explain this?
Yeah, Paula prepared a memo going back to 2023. 2023, a section of the bylaw, this personnel bylaw was omitted. I don't know if it got lost in translation as we updated the bylaws through the years, but it wasn't voted on at town meeting and it shouldn't have been omitted. So we just should be in there. I just want to get clarification, let the board know that this section should be in there. This relates to sick time buyback, so I think if you have over a certain amount of sick days, you can return 9.5 days or 8.5 days of sick time back to the town, and you get reimbursed for about 50% of that. There's a limit as to what you can do as far as sick time buyback. It was in the bylaws for years and years, and it came out, best we can tell, in 2023.
So just to clarify, so whatever is in the printed bylaws now wasn't the version that was passed last at town meeting. So you're just noting that we want to revert it back to whatever it was before, at the last town meeting, before we inadvertently changed it.
Yes.
Okay. Did you need action from us, or are you just telling us?
I'm just telling you, if the board's okay with it, then I don't want to change the bylaw without the board knowing, so. But I think it's more of a, I don't want to say typographical error, but it's more of a editing error than it is anything else.
All right. Does anybody have any questions?
So, you say we're not changing the bylaw. Or we are? We are or we aren't?
We're putting the wording in that shouldn't have been taken out in the first place.
So the intent of this is already in the bylaw?
Yes.
There's no question about
Right.
that.
Yep.
The words don't match the bylaw's intent.
It's
as
to
we-
to correct a problem caused by oversight.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But I just want to be sure that what we're doing, it comports to the intent of the bylaw.
Yes, absolutely. I think yes.
All right. So, any questions? You have any concerns? No? Okay. All right. So I don't think you need a vote, right? Okay. We have a discussion with the Westport 250 Committee. Three of you. Yeah. Bring an extra chair. And I was told Jeff Fitton was coming, and none of you look like Jeff Fitton.
Hello. I'm Irene Buck with two of my colleagues. There's two others that are not able to be here, but this is a very organic, homegrown committee. Came to you in early part of 2025 to broach the idea of joining in the nation to celebrate the 250th anniversary. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Lou Burrell. I live on River Road, and I've been working with these two and a couple others since January. My family's been in Westport since the 60s, but I have only been here for the last 4 years full-time, and I was coming to them to figure out ways to meet more people and to bring the community together, because Westport's so spread out and diverse, and I just have had a really good time, and we've come together. We're all interested in history, and we thought this would be a cool way to bring the town together, to provide events or to help sustain what we're trying to do.
You're welcome.
And I'm Jane Dufault, born and raised, went to school here, taught here. I've been here for a long time. And Irene had called me and asked me if I would be on the committee, and really to look at how we can celebrate. The nation's beginning to celebrate our 250th anniversary, and we want to bring that here to Westport. And we have found some really interesting things. We've spoken with a number of organizations and asking them how they would like to celebrate this. They're coming up with some exciting ideas. Where I was a teacher, I'm interested in also in bringing it to the schools. We've spoken with the superintendent, curriculum coordinator, and we'd like the teachers to get involved and students. And again, to learn about the history, we have a great town here. And Westport wouldn't exist if that American Revolution had never taken place. And we have such a special place, so we really want to encourage people and basically for them to come to us and say, this is what we would like to do. I know Irene will tell you more about what we have planned already.
We want to ask you to join us, or at least spread the word. When we came earlier, we didn't ask for a thing. And We're not going to really ask you for anything right now, but we're going to ask you for your support and to encourage us because, as I mentioned, we're ad hoc. We're nonprofit, nothing. You're just a group of active citizens that really believe that we should be part of a major celebration, the semi-quincentennial of the United States. And for young people to build the pride in their community, for those of us that have lived here for a while, to share in the history, the stories that we share. So join us on Thursday, November 6th at 6 p.m. for a community collaborative connection meeting at 6 o'clock at the library. The Westport 250 Committee invites all community organizations, town departments, schools, artists, residents to join us as we prepare for Westport's celebration of America's 250th anniversary in 2026. We'll celebrate our past and we'll inspire our future. That's our hope. That's the core of what we're all about. And through working collaborative, which we've already seen by having conversations with organizations and individuals around the town, we have seen people begin to find ways to work together, to help each other, to make what they're doing maybe a little bigger, a little better. We want to have the community pride that we feel, and our other two members, Jeff Fitton and Lauren Mills, really reach across this town. This is an opportunity to come together. There's nothing that we have to criticize or worry about, except feeling really proud that the Declaration of Independence somehow was created by the forefathers of this country, that people worked together to come up with something that was significant and was the ground for a government that I think we'll all feel is worth the time celebrating. Now, we're looking for many celebrations. We don't have any one specific, but so far we've identified about 6 organizations. We're looking at traditional organizations. We've talked to the parade, we've talked to the agricultural fair, we've talked to individuals. We've seen new events come up. There's an exciting event that some of you already know about where a ship called the Shallop is being brought to town and brought to a number of ports, and that's going to be a real exciting moment. But there's many, many things. This event on Thursday night is meant to pull together what we've learned, but also to demonstrate a website that we've had created. It's in process as we speak, and we'll make this website available for anyone. We need to have the community all informed, because this is not for one group or another group. This is for the town. In the past, when the last celebrations have occurred, usually a small commission or a committee was appointed. And I've talked to your chair, and she's discouraged us from getting too formal about it and said, just go ahead and do the work. That's what's important. I thank you, Shawna, for that.
It did, yeah.
And so we've talked to the organizations. We are going to promote. We're going to highlight. I'm probably not going to be the most technically astute person. I can blame my great-grandchildren on that, I don't know what, but Lou certainly represents the generation that knows exactly how to communicate social media, how to let people know. And I think in this town, the best way to know about things is have people tell you about it. So each of you make it a point over the coming week, or the coming days, I guess, to tell anybody that's interested in doing something different or having their group. We've talked to the library, we've talked to the Women's Club, we've talked to a number of organizations. If you have something you want to do, why not have 250 events? We probably won't. But we can have a lot of
250 events would be pretty ambitious. We haven't gotten
a lot of parties. So we have a flyer that's gone out to people in the mail, and we really want them to come Thursday to premiere the website. We want them to talk about promotional ideas so nobody misses out. I'm sure one or two of you have had an opportunity to say, I never heard about it. We don't want anybody not to have heard about it. And we don't want it just to be what's happening in your neighborhood, but what's happening across the town. We will have at our meeting Thursday, Jonathan Lane, who's the executive director of Revolution 250. That's a statewide nonprofit organization, and he will talk about things that are happening. You know, we are part of a state, and we will have the Old Dartmouth Association come. Dartmouth did Westport was a part of Dartmouth, so many of the communities that were part of the old Dartmouth will be coming together to do events. There was a British blockade in the harbor. They destroyed all of New Bedford, and that's going to be recreated at some point. I don't know the details. It might be, but it'll be a lot of, and the young people in this town will have a very special opportunity to share in that. I mean, we did hear great stories when we started about people remembering what their grandmother did 50 years ago. What happened in this town? So I wasn't living here 50 years ago. I don't remember.
I was.
We're not asking Jane to be our total. But those kinds of events, I think, will be talked about by our two outside speakers, and then we want the community to start talking. And we want people with new ideas. You know, some communities, Jane travels a lot because she has family in other towns. She's come back with some super ideas from other towns of what they've been doing. And people are reading the Declaration of Independence. They're having young people read it, and they're having older people read it and read it together. They're planting liberty trees. They're talking about the core substance that makes our country and our state and our town a very important place to live. So join with us, get excited about it. It's hard sometimes to talk about history and have people get excited because it's the past. This is alive. This is exciting. So let's give you a little taste of excitement. Did you know that along what we call Old County Road, Abner Brownell brought the news from Concord and Lexington to Dartmouth? He was a few days later than the battle.
April 21st.
And what Lou found out in going back and reading was that he was the first
Town moderator?
I think a clerk.
It was April, this is not exciting, I'm sure, but April 21st, whatever it was when was it 1787 when Westport became its own town? He was voted as, in the first meeting of you, he was the first select board.
Yeah.
And then he was also the one who rode the horse through town telling everybody that, that we were a new nation.
The war had started.
It was
The shot
Old County
fired.
Road. So I found that interesting because, and we found this through research, I was doing some other research with the library, but we found this out in a newspaper article from the 1920s. And Old County Road was the road that he went down, where all the schools are. So we thought, you know, could we reenact that?
Yeah, we're
Have
hoping.
somebody reenact it, have the schools, I mean, it's something, you know, that I think of now every time I drive down the street.
Yeah.
But there's a lot.
Well, it seems
Yeah,
like you're
a
so
lot of
far
history.
away from three-quarter hats. You're so far away from these things. But I think what we want young people especially to realize, they're not that far away from how this government came together. And it didn't come together automatically. It came together because people worked together. So at the core of what we're doing is civic pride and shared experience. I hope you'll share that message for us, and we will count on it, because, come on, it's extraordinary. Thank you.
I'm so excited about how far you've come.
Irene brought a
Thursday at 6
poster.
at the library, right?
Thursday, 6 p.m. at the library. I'm just so excited. I remember having lemonade on your porch like a long time ago. You talk about this. You've got a great group. I'm excited
We do have fun.
to see what you.
And we're not planning events. We are just trying to create a platform for people to come to who want us to help them post it and all that.
So the information gets out, and with that, new ideas can happen. We're counting on a lot of the existing organizations to come up with things they want to do, but we're looking for people that might not have taken a chance. There's a lot of artists in this area. There's a lot of opportunities. And the committee has been laughing at me, but I went to the Historical Society's meeting and saw the excitement that exists in this town around the Macumber turnip. I mean, we really have to start thinking about the things we own. There are a lot of men, well, probably women too, but sharing how important it is to have your own turnip and to have your own town. So let's get together, let's build community spirit, and let's celebrate 250 years of our country. Thank you.
Thank you,
You
guys.
guys have anything for these people? No. All right, thank you. Thank you, ladies. Thursday. The next item for discussion is the Long-Term Building Committee for an update on the old high school. welcome Mr. Thrasher.
Good evening, everyone. Jim, I have a presentation that I emailed you. I'm not sure if you can
What time do
be
you?
able to, it was probably right about the time you sat down. So, but shouldn't be too hard to
find
pull
it.
up here. And I certainly won't take too much time here, but I did just want to give kind of an overview of the, just an update on the municipal facility study that RGB is conducting. Just kind of look at some key developments, progress since the last time I sat before you. And also to talk a little bit about the committee itself and the next steps we're looking at taking. So, see if we can.
He's close.
All right, good deal. Not too far away. All right, so, the first slide there is quite literally what I just said, the, just giving kind of an overview of what's going to be on this presentation. It's the next slide, Jim. Yeah. And also just some potential coordination down the road. So next slide is just a summary of the progress to date. We did have RGB was in to give some detail to the community campus plan to the select board in August. Based on some feedback, RGB was actually asked to develop a revised, lower cost version of the community campus concept for evaluation. We did, the long-term building committee held an informal discussion with RGB last week. We actually did not have a quorum. Oddly enough, I think we have a quorum right now, but I'll just leave that alone for now. But the thing that has really come to the forefront based on the conversations that have been had since the last time I spoke before you is that it wasn't really going to be feasible to have a town meeting at a potential ballot question 2025. So we're hoping to put something forth for the 2026 town election as well as the town meeting, and we'll go into that here in a little bit. So just to reiterate a couple of things about the current use of the old high school building. That's the next slide. So as you can see, it's still a very heavily used asset. I think a lot of people think that it's sitting mostly empty. I can tell you that it seems to be in constant use, one thing or another, whether it's gym facilities being used. Of course, the school admin is still involved, or still has offices, the out-of-school time program. A thing that became clearer over time to me is just how much the maintenance facility is for the school department, just how much space that takes up and how much that is still used. So just a little bit about if the building were to cease to exist tomorrow, there would immediately be a requirement for new athletic fields. There would be a need for a replacement for school facilities and maintenance facilities, in addition to program relocation. And of course, doing nothing still costs a lot. So one of the things that RGB was asked to do was come up with a new concept, taking out some of the costs associated. And if you just go ahead and move to the next slide, I'll show you. This comes right from their potential options. So this involves removing, if you recall, the community campus option had separating the site into 3 different buildings. This removes the center building, still preserves the gym, the auditorium. The next slide gives a little bit more info on the space that would remain with this option. And of course, you'll have a chance to see this, and I'll just kind of speed through. These are all from RGB's slides. But if you want to go to the cost benefit analysis, I'll show you the bottom line change. So you're looking at, for the option 3B, which is the modified community campus, where it's 2 buildings as opposed to 3, comes in about $20 million cheaper than the original community campus option. So one thing I wanted to bring to the committee's attention, so there's been next slide there, Jim, there's been a bit of a conversation about housing that's come from the planning department as well as some committee members. I personally still have a concern if the idea of using the entire parcel for housing, that, you know, I think we would leave ourselves with some serious deficiencies as far as like I said, the fields and the school maintenance facilities, among other things. But I do think there may be an opportunity, especially with this community campus plan that involves, again, taking out that middle part. There might be some conversations might be a way to bring housing back into the conversation a little bit. I did want to mention, I spoke with a developer. He mentioned, to be fair, this is total hearsay, but he mentioned that the Affordable Housing Trust may be interested in funding a housing study as part of adding to the scope of RGB's existing scope, so that we could add that in to the current project. And I spoke with, or emailed Jim earlier just to get a little clarification on how that would work. I believe it would not necessarily need to go through the RFP process if it could just be added in with RGB. I spoke with Dave DeQuattro of RGB. He indicated that RGB would be willing and able to do such a study and to turn it around quick enough to get to our planned community meeting in January, and I'll get to that here in just a second. But again, that I guess would be contingent on if the Affordable Housing Trust would be interested in adding that to the equation.
But we do have funding for feasibility studies leading to a housing development of a certain scale. And so there is interest. I mean, we're not closing any doors in terms of development opportunities when it comes to affordable housing, so.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think, as I said before, my concern was always if you're talking about repurposing the entire site, I think that's a detriment to the town. But if there's a way to incorporate housing into kind of a master plan here, I think that's something that needs to be looked at. And certainly if it's possible to roll this in with the existing RGB study, and again, you could turn it around in time for January. I do believe that would, according to Jim, that would require the select boards and of course, the Affordable Housing Trust to get the process rolling as far as changing amending the contract and getting the funding for that study. So the next thing I wanted to mention before we get into timelines here is just to talk a little bit about the committee operations. We have had significant challenges reaching quorums. We've had, I think, 3 meetings over the course of the year that have not been attended enough to have a quorum, and have turned into, we tried to have informal conversations. But the committee membership is 9 individuals currently. I intend to send out a survey just to confirm everybody's interest in continuing on the committee. We've had a couple that have been absent for some time. I would ask that perhaps the planning board revisit their appointment, as the current appointee is somewhat indisposed. And I also would wonder if the select board would consider possibly a reduced committee size, maybe even appointing another select board member to the committee. This is something that, with most of the terms expiring in June, at the end of June 2026, I believe this would probably require, resignations. But again, I'm attempting to try and get a hold of the individuals who haven't been participating on a regular basis. So that's just something I wanted to bring to the committee's attention, that I've got that on the radar, and would certainly like the select board's input on the committee makeup to try and have a little bit more manageable committee to at least get a quorum. So the next slide goes into expectations process. So again, ideally would like to get the committee roster a little bit more solidified over the next couple months. I would ask that to coordinate with the Affordable Housing Trust and the Select Board on potentially amending the scope of the RGB agreement. The ideal end to that additional component delivery would be in January, early January. The plan is to have a public meeting on Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. The idea with this meeting would be a little different than the previous public meeting. The previous public meeting was very much a listening session. It was, let's bounce a lot of ideas around. I think it was very, very productive, but I think it would be important that this meeting be a structured, kind of decision-oriented meeting. The idea being to present a few different options. When I say a few, maybe 3 or 4, narrow, and kind of gauge reaction and discussion based on that meeting. Take a recommendation based on the outcome of that meeting to you all, the select board, to try and create a potential ballot question. And I believe there may be a way to have multiple questions as well. That's kind of the idea of having it on the town election ballot as opposed to waiting until after town meeting might give a little bit might give a little bit of flexibility based on the results of the town election going into town meeting. So that's kind of the general idea there. And the next slide is just a timeline of everything I've discussed here, including trying to get a ballot question together. I believe that the deadline for to place a question on the ballot would be March 10th. It would, of course, require the select board to vote to place such a question. So we're looking at in the timeline between the 22nd public meeting, January 22nd public meeting to early February to draft ballot questions, get it approved by town council, et cetera. With the hope and expectation that there would be a question on the ballot for the April election. So the just final slide here, just reminding everybody of all the things to consider, including the fact that there is no option, including doing nothing, that costs $0. Everything has a price tag attached to it, including demolishing it, really including selling it. So there's the other key thing I think everybody needs to remember is that this building does get a lot of use right now. And if it were to, again, cease to exist tomorrow, there would be a significant deficit in things that the town is able to provide, as well as a need to replace certain things that the building is providing. So with that, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to fire away.
Can you talk about when you reduced the scope from the 3 buildings to 2 buildings, did we lose some of the departments or something in there?
So, Jim, if you can go to slide, I believe, if you look at slide 8, so it definitely does take away square footage. So you go one more, one back. That's the one I'm looking for, yeah. So all of these square footages are rough estimates, right? But it does take away a little bit of the town office space. So what you'll notice based on the rendering here is just that, or the schematic is that the part that would be demolished, you're dealing with the oldest wing, the oldest hallway, which is the most difficult to upgrade, and also some of the old media center there. I think there's also the opportunity for some of the space that remains in this plan that is dedicated to the after-school program. I mean, that could, realistically, that could be considered almost flex space, flex classroom space. So the Council on Aging might be able to use that space as well from time to time, in addition to the space that's provided. So it does take away, obviously, significant square footage. It does not completely eliminate the option for consolidating town offices, but it does take away the square footage, for
So
sure.
it looks like what in this version, what would not move over is the stuff that's here in this building, in the town hall.
In this version.
Right,
that's correct,
so you've got recreation, council on aging, and then you've got school stuff. But not basically not the town hall.
It would not involve moving the entire town hall. I mean, if you're trying to cut 20 million out of a project, unfortunately, that is, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the part that got dropped.
Which addresses one of my longstanding concerns, because I've had a lot of reservations about ripping the heart out of Westport Village by just basically mothballing this place.
Yeah.
Because I think it'll have a real, long-term effect on the center of the Westport Village. What's the revised square footage?
So the revised total square footage, if somebody had a calculator right now to add it up, I believe, let's see if that's on the cost benefit. I took these slides from RGV's presentation. I don't believe I included the slide that had the full square footage breakdown.
Okay.
Looks like it's about 55,000 maybe?
That sounds about right. It did take, again, it took away a significant chunk for sure.
I just added what was up there, so if I'm wrong.
So obviously keeping the auditorium in the gymnasium.
That's correct, yes.
Well, the auditorium is not being used, but it's valuable space, I think, potentially. And cafeteria goes away, though.
The cafeteria would go away, and it would, so the site plan, if you want to go to the next, I think it's the next slide, still has the opportunity to add some rec space there in the middle. I think, again, if you bring the housing possibility back into the equation as well, there may be something that could be done with that middle space as well. One thing I do like about this option is that it does, with that empty space, not empty, but I mean, with that unused space, it does give a little bit of flexibility for future, for even some phased options. But again, I do feel that the community campus option on paper is the best option with, perhaps the three building scheme, but I do understand the price tag. I mean,
And the septic is a big issue.
Septic is a big issue as well
Particularly
as.
if you get into housing, because now you're talking more bathroom, it's an exponential increase in the size.
Exactly, and I want to commend, so Dia Wheeler had been doing some digging on some stats as far as what the current usage, or the permitted usage is. What I was hoping to accomplish with adding in a housing study component to the RGB's scope is to get that even further flushed out, to get exactly what it would entail to upgrade the services, what it would entail to, also considering the public water sources that are involved. So, I mean, there's no question that adding that type of component does change pretty dramatically what is going to be needed in terms of that type of infrastructure.
So I really like that you guys sharpened the pencils because I was really worried about it. But one of the things I would kind of worry about with when we have had previous ballot questions, we've had much more precise numbers. We've had like detailed design documentation and detailed estimates. And and what you've talked about here is construction costs. And I don't know that it's the best estimate we have based on square footage. And I think again, I'm really glad you sharpened the pencils there. But I worry a little bit about going to the voters with saying, okay, this is a $50 million project, but then, we get further in the design and it gets higher, right? And so what phase of completion have we been at when we've gone to ballots before?
So with the school, they did a feasibility study, right? So I think that was around $600,000.
Yeah.
That kind of narrowed down the cost. And even that, when we went out to bid, came in higher than we anticipated, and we had to make some changes to the design.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they handled the police station, and the fire station was a few years ago. So,
Yeah. Well, police station, I know we ended up having to get more money later. But I don't know. I just worry a little bit about, you want to get the sense of the voters about which direction they want to go, whether they're supportive of this idea. But then also you don't want to, we don't know the number, right? We've got a very good estimate. So I just worry a little bit about that.
With the school building, obviously you have the Massachusetts school building board involved with the planning on that front. Here, we're looking at a situation where we don't necessarily have a project manager. And I think that once you maybe are able to take the next step to creating, an actual going concern project, that's when things like talking to individual departments to actually get, okay, exactly how much square foot is needed. I think it's difficult, I would say it's difficult to get the 100% accurate numbers, because those square footage estimates we were looking at, those are just broad overviews, right? So I certainly should share the concern. This is part of my hope that there would be a lot more flushed out numbers to present at that January meeting. And also, I think it's worth noting, every conversation that I have had with residents of the town when it came to the first incarnation of the community campus plan at the $72 million price tag, every single person who was, said that, well, first of all, I had a lot of people just say that I wouldn't even expect, oh, this is great, yes, I'm on board. I had a lot of other people express reservations, but not one of them said they didn't support it, they just said they didn't know if it'll pass. And that tells me, I think, that there is a level of support, and there's also a level of understanding that there is no option, including doing nothing, that does not cost the town a significant amount of money. We're not just talking about, small dollars, even if you, again, do nothing and keep the lights on for the next 5 years, you're still talking about significant costs. So it's, it's a difficult position, because you have a great asset, but it's going to take funding to get it to where it can service the town for many years to come. So, I think that based on the meeting, based on the public meeting, based on presenting those options, based on getting the feedback from that meeting, I think we'll be able to at least arm you all with enough information to make a proper decision on whether a ballot question can be crafted and that would be justified and would perhaps receive a positive vote from the town. So,
Thank you.
So the the chair, the special town meeting idea is no longer necessary?
basically, talking with, talk with the town clerk, talk with, we have the town administrator transition here. It just did, with the compressed timeline, it didn't seem like it was going to be feasible to have that happen this year. I do think that if we've seen it before where a debt exclusion perhaps doesn't pass the first time, but it comes back around. So maybe that's part of the other idea of trying to have the question on the April town ballot. But my hope is that based on the community feedback, we can find a good solution or a good potential proposal here that would be favorably received. The other aspect of the housing component is perhaps offsetting some of the cost as well. So there are certainly options that can make this a feasible endeavor.
If I may follow up, Madam Chair, so the idea then is to do some public meetings and so on and so forth, and then have this go on the April ballot.
That is correct, yes. Assuming, of course, that, you all, the select board, finds an agreeable proposal to put forth to voters.
Right, but if we do, it would be on the April.
It would be on the April. It would still, of course, need to clear the town meeting hurdle, but you could put it on before the town meeting.
Well, the town meeting's in May, so.
We have to have
Exactly. So
two votes.
you have to have two votes. You
You
have
can go in
to,
any order.
yeah.
Okay, we can handle that. I just wanted to understand that clearly, because it's different than what we were talking about before.
It's definitely different than the idea of having a special town meeting before the end of the year. Yes, indeed.
Did you?
Oh, no, I think I'm good for now.
Okay, Jake, do you?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I'm not going to be at the January 22nd meeting. I'm traveling for work, so, but, I mean, this may not be the venue to be discussing this, but I know the majority of the public do not want to lose this facility. We know that, everyone knows that. But I think the residents are kind of sick and tired of this charade, and this is no reflection on you, you've been tasked with what you're doing as a committee member, but we continue to hear this, we hear these numbers getting thrown out, and now we go from 68 million to 48 million. It's not going to pass. We know it's not going to pass. And we can say what we want, but the question is, how can we be at this point, 5, 6 years later? We have admin offices in there, we have schools in there, we have rec sports in there, we have organizations that want to go in there, we have the Council of Aging that wants to go in there, we have possible revenue sources. We just received correspondence that a church in Dartmouth would like to use the auditorium on Sundays. There are people that are willing to use this. Have we gotten a clear and definitive answer that we cannot use it for any other purposes than what's happening right now?
We have, and I think we've gotten it about at least 2 times, maybe 3 at this point.
So at this point, then the administrative offices that are in there, the schools and the rec sports, which I think rec sports is extremely important to anyone's upbringing, are not safe in that school?
I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I would say that they have not triggered a change of use.
They're very broad interpretation. They're grandfathered because they mirror uses that the building was used for when it was operational.
Okay, so educational courses from the Council of Aging would not qualify because they're old people?
So, again, I wouldn't say that, but I would say that Council on Aging services are not considered educational services in the eyes of Massachusetts code.
Okay.
It's technically a business. This is, COA is technically a business use right now.
So have we looked at any other options cost-wise besides $48 million? I mean, listen, we're in a town where they wouldn't vote for a unified police station and fire station for a cost saving. So it ended up, in the long run, costing more money because we put in a police station and fire station right next to each other. And unfortunately, that costs more than if you actually did it unified. The amount of time and effort from the community to get basically $32 million for a new school was, I mean, again, that impacts a lot of the community with children. You're talking $48 million you're going to ask for, and that's with sharpening the pencils. I mean...
So it's $19 to $20 million just to get it up to code and do nothing else.
Okay, let's explore that. If it's $19 million to get... I guarantee you, if you put it on the ballot and you had it somewhere between $8 and $12 million, I bet you get buy-in. How do we get to that number, and how do we get it with revenue producing, right? How do we bring revenue in there to cover that number?
You get to an $8 to $12 million cost by demolishing the building. That'll cost.
That's more than the cost to demolish it. Nobody wants to
No,
demolish
I'm
it.
telling you,
not
the
by
cost
much.
to demolish it is going to be in the neighborhood of $6 to $8 million.
That's what I'm
to
saying.
demolish
But
it.
nobody wants to demolish that building. Nobody in town wants it. We want to use it as a facility, and nobody is coming up with a feasible option to use this high school. $50 million is not usable. I will not be there on January 22nd, so I wanted that on the record.
The bottom line here is that there is no option that doesn't cost money. All right?
I agree.
So
I agree.
at some point in time, you have to look at this from a cost-benefit standpoint. And, I think the fact that I'm sitting here talking about raising taxes, you should know, Jake, that's not something I would take lightly. All right? But
You're talking
I
about
think-
raising taxes, but also the governor's talking about giving the opportunity for cities and towns to raise their own taxes. So
Well, we can
the
talk about
people
that later,
The people,
because
the people in Westport cannot deal with any more tax increases.
The people in Westport pay the 320th lowest tax rates in the Commonwealth, right?
So that means we should increase their tax rate?
I'm not saying they want to pay. I'm not
So
saying
you
they-
want to increase their tax rate?
I would be willing to increase my tax rate to pay for this, project. I think we should have sold this stupid lot 6 years ago when I first recommended it, okay? But when it comes to the ballot, I'm going to say, yes, I think we should vote it. Now, do I think everybody else is going to vote that way? No, I do not. But I think that we have an obligation to present the option. The option is $8 million to demolish it, $20 million to bring it up to code so that we know it's a safe building, $48 million to get this complex. I think that is what we have to, that is the option on the table, is like what Mr. Thrasher's saying, there's no option that doesn't increase your tax burden.
So that, but we're talking, if that $20 million, if it costs $20 million to bring it up to code, can we bring the Council of Aging in there? Can we bring services in? Can we bring a Diamond Culinary to use the cafeteria services? Can we use all of these options if we bring it up to code?
Probably, but we directed the committee to look at the option that would combine municipal services into one building.
Okay.
That's what we guided them to do.
And I would say that estimate for code compliance, that's not turnkey. You can't, it wouldn't be just moving in everybody the next day. So, I mean, there's certainly going to be costs involved in that. So my concern, to your point about the fire station and the police station, if you're just going to make the code upgrades, it's very much penny wise, pound foolish type of situation, in my view. And I think that while there have been conversations about selling the property, but I say again, the amount of uses that building has right now and the needs that would arrive if that parcel ceased to be owned by the town, they would be immediate and they also would be expensive.
I agree with you completely. The building needs to stay in its existence, and we need to find a way to make it work. And a $50 million price tag is out the way.
Obviously, it's not ready for prime time. I mean, but I also think that we need to scratch around a little bit to try to look at some of the options. And I tend to be inclined towards, maybe you do, we've done it in the past, without success, I might add, but a multiple choice override proposal where you say, vote for one only. Or you may have two, but you structure the choices so that you get a sense of what the voters' appetite is for certain approaches and certain cost estimates. It's not going to be an up or down thing, at least where it sits right now in terms of its conceptual development. And I'm also one that believes it would, without, I've named these entities in the past, but there are entities that bring some financial resources to the table that also do things that are in the public interest and meet public need. And I'm not convinced that we've adequately had background conversations with those entities to see if there is any appetite.
Well, I think there's certainly been some conversations, but I think that
and I'm not talking Diamond, and I'm talking, deeper pocketed, other sources of revenue type of organizations.
Well, absolutely. Well, so you mentioned that the auditorium is not being used on a consistent basis. It is being used from time to time. But, I mean, I've had conversations that there's no shortage of theater groups that would be immediately interested in using it. There's the Art Council in general. I mean, there are a lot of options. I think that part of the, I guess, delay in having those conversations is every time this gets brought up in a broader conversation, it turns into, well, we can't spend any money, so we're not going to do anything, and it's going to sit and another year goes by. So I think you have made a perfect point that some sort of tiered, maybe 3 options. I don't think we should overload with 15, but say 3 options, one of which includes just how much it would cost to demolish and, maybe then also add another $10 million for athletic fields on top of that too. So I think that the public meeting will, and the work done towards that public meeting will be able to inform at least you all to have, to figure out what those best options to put on the ballot for April would be. I think we owe it to the town to have up or down votes at this point. Because, I mean, this is, I tire as well. I've been doing, my term is going to be up in June for this committee, and I was hoping we'd be a little bit farther along than we are. But at the same time, we have to move beyond the conversation of, well, it'll never pass, so why bother?
Okay.
So.
I do applaud one thing regarding the options that could be on a ballot for a straight up and down vote combination, whatever it is. I welcome that because if you recall, Mr. Thrash, when we were talking about this before in the $72 million or so option, I had queried you about whether we could break this up into smaller pieces. You have done that now, so I think that that represents progress. Because I believe with Mr. McGuigan here that the $48 million is going to be tough too, but 72 is out of the question. But now, if there are options, and I do believe people should have the right to vote, and if there are some options that that have appeal, then that gives us hope, and we want voters to vote for that if they want. So this is, I see progress here, is what I'm saying.
There's certainly progress. Again, it's slower than I would like, but at the same time, I think we're poised to have a bit of a breakthrough and actually get something at least on the ballot in front of voters here, of course, with the select board's help. So.
Through Madam Chair, this is, a situation where I think you have these options, but again, we're looking at options spending taxpayer money, right? This is essentially what government does. I come from a private business background, and how about we provide a proposal that's at $15 million, built in with a revenue producing? Where's your break-even point if you brought in various classes, you rented out certain parts of that building for that? It's just, we throw a number out at $50 million, we're going to hit the taxpayers. I mean, taxpayers are worried about a 10% increase in their Eversource bill. So to talk to, say that you want to increase $600 to $800 to $900 on a house a year is ridiculous. So, we need to have this proposal that gives break-even points. How are we going to get to it? How are we going to have revenue producing? Going on the backs of taxpayers all the time is not the answer.
So the municipal government is not a private entity. We are tasked with providing services that our citizenry wants and expects from their government.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not for profit, although I appreciate that RGB did do quite a bit of work looking at how we could do renting spaces or leasing spaces to other people. So that was part of what was happening if the building was larger. I think that we have to, the citizens of Westport, or the voters of Westport, need to decide, do they want these facilities or not? And it's not, do they believe that the Council on Aging and the Recreation Department need and deserve space? We talk a lot about fields. Do the people of Westport really believe that we need playing fields? And if you believe that you need them and you believe that your community should be providing these services, there are costs associated with it. So we're not about making money, although I do want to save money where we can, if that's an opportunity, but we did look at that, right? We looked at that for the larger option. We're not going to make significant amount of money to cover the cost of a municipal building project, but that is not the purpose of municipal infrastructure. Municipal infrastructure is to provide services to the community that the community wants. And so I think you got to, I appreciate saving money. I appreciate looking at money-making opportunities. We're not a money-making organization. We are a service
It could be a break-even organization.
You
I
will never break even. You will
But-
never break even. It will never happen.
The
So you have to
problem-
decide whether your community values this type of infrastructure or not.
I mean, you're going to ask working-class families that
And-
depend on youth sports, the gymnasium, athletic fields, whether they want a $600
It's
$600
around
property tax.
$450 a year.
Oh, for you, that's not a lot.
The average homeowner. Before you start throwing $600 to $800 out, it isn't $600 to $800.
Okay.
It's more like $450.
Okay,
It's just
and that's not a lot of money to a lot of
insignificant.
people?
I'm not saying it's not significant. I'm saying if you're going to use numbers, let's use the accurate number. You probably have the better.
If I may.
We're not spending their money. In this process, we are going to them saying, do you want to spend your money on this? And you have the chance to vote. You're going to have a chance to vote twice. You're going to vote first on the ballot, and you're going to vote second at the town meeting. So it's not the select board spending people's monies. We could only spend the money that they allocate to us. And we get it through town meeting, and we get it through government reimbursement for when we provide services that are compatible with both state and federal mandates.
So the good news is that you don't have to vote on this. as a select board. You vote to put it on, and then you let the town make the decision. That's the good news here.
But the obligation is, we have.
It'll be an election issue.
We have to inform people.
Yeah, no, but look.
Absolutely.
The obligation is, it's our job to inform people so that they are able to make an evaluation based upon that. And every 3 years, one of us or a couple of us are up for reelection, and if they don't like the judgment we did and what they did, they can run for office, find somebody to run for office, or vote for somebody else. And there's no one shoving things down people's throats. It's self-imposed.
If there's one thing I can cap this conversation with, it's saying that for as long as this has gone on, for as long as we have traded plans and ideas, we owe it to the town to get something on the ballot so that the town can make their voice heard.
And the question is, how do we do it, and how do we present it? And I think that, and I agree with some of the earlier comments, I think we've moved the ball a little bit down the road in terms of conceptualizing what type of thing, or in what format, and roughly in what time frame we're going to be bringing this to the voters. And I think that's, I think in committee meetings, we can suggest ways that we may want to have subcommittees that focus on different aspects of this proposal, so that you can get more time of people executing, using their time more productively on the committee to develop these things, as opposed to having it committee of the whole.
You're on the committee, right?
What? Yeah, I am on the
You're
committee.
yeah.
So.
All right, anything else for Mr. Thrasher?
That's all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Cheers.
We look forward to seeing your proposal for the makeup of the committee. For 5C, we have a discussion and potential action for two House bills that are before the state legislature. So I had a conversation with our state representative, wanted to know why this was on the agenda, but it was on the agenda because we received a letter from Representative Christopher Markey asking for us to support, just basically just send a letter of support for the legislation. And we can decide to do that or decide not to do that, that's fine. But the House Bill 1000 is an act to establish a coastal waters wastewater financing commission. And then House Bill 999 is an act to establish a deer population control commission. And while it was Representative Markey who sent this to us, Steve Willett, our representative, is a co-sponsor of these bills. So sometimes we send letters of support on these types of things, and sometimes we don't. But we have a conversation about whether we want to weigh in. I don't know, Craig, do you know more about these, or?
I could research, but I'm trying to keep my roles straight.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Are we referring to the letter of September the 5th?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would be opposed to supporting this, but based on what I know from this, I'm not sure what this is really going to do in the end, and how much will it cost somebody. So I think we need further discussion.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to bring it to everybody. You're
at least
creating
one of
two commissions, I don't know if there's.
I would like to have clarification from them, but I think one of these does have the support of the Watershed Alliance, and maybe if that is something that they would have a position on.
Yeah, I don't know about the Watershed Alliance, but it says, it does talk here mentioning the Buzzards Bay Coalition, so.
Yeah, if that's the case, that may be worth on that particular piece of legislation.
Yeah, I don't know, we didn't get any Westport-specific conversation here or anything, so I think unless somebody feels strongly that we want to send a letter of support, I think we just pass.
I'd be inclined to probably pass on both of them.
Yeah.
I have a lot I could talk about on hunting and deer population, but I don't think I want to bore the viewers on this as to the reasons why we have a issue. By the way, deer per square mile in Westport is 56. the average should be between 6 and 18 per square mile. So
It's been a long-established fact that we,
Representative Schmidt had a
Yeah.
group of people here, this is a few years, like 5 or 6 years ago, and yeah, that was shocking to me, that the density of the deer population
Is crazy.
here is crazy, and we're the number one for deer strikes, it's really a problem. So I don't think it's that we're opposed to these commissions necessarily, it's just that,
And I would probably abstain from this, but obviously one of the bigger, legalizing Sunday hunting would probably be a good start, giving working class families the opportunity to hunt on Sundays as opposed to Maine and Massachusetts are the only two states left that still have those blue laws. I've passed legislation in 7 states that got rid of the blue laws, including Connecticut, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. But I would abstain from that vote anyway.
all right, so I think we're not going to take any action on that.
yep. Next item.
Huh?
Move on, I think.
All right, and the town administrator report?
So just a quick update on the HVAC. They should have the heat in the basement going this week, first floor next week, and second floor the week after. They are moving along fairly good. Again, it's a much more extensive project than I anticipated. There's a lot of work going on down there. We've had quite a few people here throughout the building. The town hall employees and the public have been very accommodating, so we appreciate their response to this. Chief Baldwin reported that with the help and support of Senator Rodericks, the Westport Fire Department received an earmark in the amount of $130,000. This funding will be used to purchase 3 new cardiac monitors. They're in the process of working with the Department of Fire Services to get the documents signed, and they'll keep the board posted as they move forward. Westport Wildcat Pep Band. Congratulations to Mr. Nunes, Mr. Sullivan, and the Westport Wildcat Pep Band. They were featured on ABC 6 News as the Band of the Week at the end of October. I saw that little clip. It was pretty impressive. Municipal budget. The town did receive free cash certification the end of last week. We had $3,509,000 in free cash certified. The Harbor Advisory was $124,000, the Water Enterprise $333,000, and the Beach $283,000. So that's a good sign. We've tapped into that free cash this fiscal year a little bit, so I anticipate it'll be down a bit next year. Still hopefully in the $2 million range, but 3.5, this might be our peak. We've been working with the departments on the budgets for FY '27, reviewed all the department budgets with the department heads. When they first came in, we were approximately $500,000 over revenue projections. We've gotten that down to about $107,000. We hope we'll refine those numbers over the next couple of months as we get more of our estimates coming in. We gave a preliminary number to the school department based on the percentage, the 54-46% split. We'll be meeting with the superintendent and the business manager over the next week or two just to go over our revenue projections, just to give them a better understanding of how we've come to those numbers. And again, it's very early. These numbers are going to change. Transfer station well, Representative Steve Roulette secured $25,000 earmark for the installation of a water supply well at the transfer station. They've been bringing in water for their comfort station there that they use on site. This allowed them to provide water for washdowns for the equipment. They need it on site. Also, facilities within the building itself, the shed. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We have minutes of October 20.
Motion to approve the October 20th minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a report on the bill warrant.
The bill warrant is in your package. It was about $3 million, and nothing out of the ordinary, and everything was appropriately recorded.
I think we didn't have a report on the bill warrant last time, did we? Or did?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. Was the bill warrant before that looked okay too? We don't know.
I thought we approved 2 of them at the last
Oh,
meeting.
maybe we did. Okay.
Maybe not.
Well, you were absent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so-
No,
All right, the bill warrant looks okay.
The latest one is the one I'm reporting.
Okay, all right.
Those are the minutes just for Jake to sign.
Those are for Jake.
Thank you.
All right, so we have liaison committee reports and suggestion for future agenda items. So Jake, you want to start?
Since the last time we met, we had the Offshore Wind Advisory Committee meeting, where we just spoke about updates on the current projects that are going on off of our coastline, along with a presentation on Eversource and energy bills at that time. So that was all that we covered in that time. And our next meeting is, I think, in the January timeframe. But
We might have made it January 22nd.
no, I wasn't going to be in town. I think it's the week after. I think it's
Oh,
the week
okay.
after. The 29th, if possible. The only other thing I had to update is last week, the open space and recreational plan update. They had a meeting on Thursday evening. I attended that. Dick was there as well. Great plan. I mean, and the good thing is they're looking for a lot of feedback, or public feedback, of how residents in Westport use the open space, their recreation plans. There's a survey online. If you go to the, obviously, town website and just look for the open space and recreation plan, they have a flyer there. You can provide feedback, whether you're looking for more walking trails, access, ADA access, and various other things. But they're updating this plan from 2016, and this is through Serped, Michael Burris and Chris Capone and Sean Leach and everyone who's on that committee put forth a great plan. So it was a good meeting, but again, they want feedback from the public. So again, if you go to the Westport page and you can find the open space and recreation plan, you can provide feedback of what you want to see here in Westport. That's all I have.
Thank you. So the only committee I attended was offshore wind. So I don't have any more to add to that. Dick?
The meeting of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee took place. We're moving right along and reviewed the department requests, and now we'll start the process of analyzing them. So that's it's very much on schedule this year. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Craig?
Two committees were meeting on the same night, and I was not available that night. And then I reported on the last meeting of the Affordable Housing Trust at the last meeting, our last meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do you have any comments or statements from the public? Seeing none, I don't think, we originally had something on the under 48-hour rule, but we removed that from the agenda. So just a reminder, everyone, Veterans Day events on Tuesday, the 11th, the community collaborative about the Westport 250 on November 6th. I think we're done.
Madam Chair, I wish to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Thank you.
Oh, no.